Hey everyone, hope you're having a great week. We're almost at the holiday season for Halloween, so I hope you got a cool costume and stuff picked out. I actually decided I'm going to go as Luffy for Halloween this year. I've got it all picked out. Maybe I'll post a picture of my Halloween costume onto the channel for you guys to take a look at if you're interested. I also got this cool hoodie, which is really nice. It's YouTuber merch. I don't buy YouTuber merch. I don't have merch, but I decided to get it because it was a color that I really like. I really like purple and blacks, if you can't tell. And I had to get this hoodie. It's got like this dope Japanese text going down the side of it. And on the back, it's got this cool picture that says, "As above, so below." I'm really into like horror, if you don't know. And speaking of horror, there was also a video put out by Dark Bomber on the channel. You can check that out. It goes over the amazing digital circus. It was definitely one of the harder videos to put together for everyone. So I hope you guys enjoy it. So just give me a like and some feedback on it, because I know Dark Bomber would love to do more of that kind of stuff. But hey, we are here for this Dragon Ball Iceberg. We are on part 9 of this awesome ultimate Dragon Ball Iceberg. If you haven't seen the previous chapters, just check out the playlist on the channel. It'll start you at 1 and you can catch up with all of us. But for the rest of you that are ready and set to go, let's jump right into it. So we're on level 9, Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan, and our first topic, Nozawa prolonged a boy's life. Masako Nozawa, the main voice actor for Goku, you guys know her, she's been around forever. She, in an interview for a television show called My Age, recounted a story where she received a letter from a boy's father. Now this boy was terminally ill. In the letter, the father just said, "Hey, would you be willing to sign your name and send it to my son? You know, he's a big fan of Dragon Ball." Nozawa does one better. She gets her whole staff together and records this heartfelt message for this boy, basically telling him, "Hey, it's me, Goku. You know, come on. You know, I'll be waiting for you in the theater for the movie. We'll all be there. So try to live as long as possible so we can watch this movie together." It meant the world to the boy. And in what people would call a miracle, like I said, he was expected to die in February, and he was able to live until August when the movie came out. And he also was so tough that like they got like a hospital bed and everything for him to just like watch it in the theater with a hospital bed. And he said like, "No, you know, I want to be strong. I want to sit in the theater seat and watch my hero on the TV like everyone else." And yeah, he had the strength to sit up and watch that whole movie. And the next day he passed away. And the boy credits Nozawa for basically extending his son's life and by giving him something to live for. And it really is a testament to the strength the human condition can have when inspired with great hope. Kaori Matsumoto. Kaori is just this badass judo champion from Japan. She has won Olympic gold medals and gold in tons of competitions worldwide. So what's really cool is the whoever was tasked with coming up with background characters for the Battle of Gods movie inserted her as a policewoman in the movie, which she voices herself. So there is an Olympic star in the Dragon Ball Battle of Gods movie. Galactic Patrol series. So what a lot of people might not know is the Galactic Patrol series has existed for kind of a long time. Even before Jocko Galactic Space Patroller, that manga, there was actually a one-shot way back in '08 called Sachi-chan Good. And in it is when we first see a member of the Galactic Patrol. Toriyama actually had a couple of one-shots with the Galactic Patrol before Jocko was ever really introduced, and Dragon Ball Super was really also adapting the Galactic Patrol. So it's just one of these things that Toriyama created that then slowly got introduced into his more popular work. Curtis Hoffman. Curtis Hoffman is influential for fans of Dragon Ball GT early before the show even came over here. What he would do would draft up summaries of the Dragon Ball GT episodes and paste them online for fans overseas to read. I'll link an internet archive to a profile for one of his old websites that he used to upload this information to, where it just gives a nice summary about who he was. And really, he was just a guy who was very clearly interested in the Japanese technology field, went over to Japan, tried to work on games and other areas of technology, and doing translations for Dragon Ball GT was something he found as a fun hobby. Something I kind of want to say as an aside here, as I've been doing all of these icebergs, is the passion you see from a lot of these old school fans for really getting Dragon Ball material into the hands of English speaking audiences is truly mind-blowing. Just the dedication and work people have to show their passion for this series and share it for others. And I really think it's cool that this iceberg that was created really documents a lot of these, long-term fans' works in documenting and shipping all known Dragon Ball media in Japan that they can to try to get it popular. So I just kind of want to bring that out, that it's really cool that has been something you can find here with this iceberg. Creative Productions dub. The Creative Productions dub of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z kind of, in a way, mirrors the similarities to the whole Ocean dub situation that happened in America. Basically, Creative Productions was in charge of dubbing the Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z show into English for Filipino audiences. After a certain amount of time, they only did like some of the early episodes. It then ended up getting stopped and replaced with the Tanglish dub, which if you don't know what that is, it is a blend of the English language and the Tagalog Filipino language, which is how you get the Tanglish abbreviation. So then like a bunch of episodes were done using that translation, and then they stopped and then moved on and did the entire thing completely in the Filipino language. It's very odd, but it's what the Filipino people know for the Dragon Ball dub. Something worth noting, although there's a lot of information on this dub, a lot of it is considered lost media, sadly, as there just wasn't a lot of saving that kind of media back then, because people didn't think, oh, we should put this out on DVDs in a collection later. This was also the first company to dub Dragon Ball Z and the second to dub Dragon Ball. Gokuism. That's right, this is a real religion which follows the teachings of Son Goku. Basically, it's just a religion that revolves around, improving yourself and being a good person to everyone. It's very similar, not to the same scale, obviously, but very similar to Jediism, which kind of adapted from the Jedi culture in Star Wars, which is a real recognized religion in some countries. I believe Canada recognizes Jediism. I'm not sure if there are any places that recognize Gokuism, but it is a religion nonetheless where people sometimes do meet to discuss the teachings of Son Goku. They also like to sit and compare some of the parallels between Goku and Jesus Christ, such as the fact that both are savior-like figures in their respective media that come back through resurrection. Now, obviously, I'm not going to say there's a one-to-one between, Gokuism and Christianity, but if you are interested in the topic, I'll leave a link down below for you to learn more about. Dragon Ball Uncensored. This was an old website that I believe still exists. Like, I'm able to go to it, but it honestly looks like a late 90s internet page, which is why I don't know if this is like the legit original website in its original form. But Dragon Ball Z Uncensored is a website that you can go to see documented informational differences between the English version of Dragon Ball Z and the Japanese version of Dragon Ball Z. The whole point of this website was to document those differences because the owner said that he felt that people were missing out on the true version of Dragon Ball due to certain changes for censorship and localization purposes. It's a neat piece of history documenting the history of the Dragon Ball television show and its differences while it aired. I'll leave a link down below for you to check it out. Birdland Press. Birdland Press was a fan newsletter with information about Toriyama. It was kind of like his own personal fan club newsletter that would get sent out. Obviously, this is before, the big prolification of the internet. So a lot of people, what they would do is, you would sign up for a newsletter and someone would make that newsletter and ship it out to you in the mail. Wrestle Observer was actually kind of that way, I believe. and then maybe it became a email sort of thing later. Don't worry about Wrestle Observer. I don't know why I'm bringing up Wrestle Observer. I do know why, because I love wrestling, but that's neither here nor there. But it's a cool little product of its time, definitely worth remembering. Third anniversary contest. The third anniversary contest was this contest for Dragon Ball's third anniversary. What does that mean? Let's actually dissect that. The contest was for fans to draw a new outfit for Goku, and this design would be featured on the cover of an issue of Dragon Ball. I'll go ahead and show the outfit here. It's kind of neat looking, and nothing like too great a departure from the outfit we have known and loved forever, but I still think it's kind of unique style that I think would have taken off fine. The winner of the contest won an RC car that had like Dragon Ball on it, like the word Dragon Ball. RC cars were popular, really popular back then, so I'm not surprised it was given away as a prize for fans. I am a little bummed this outfit never really got used in anything. I guess it's one of those things where probably Toriyama didn't want to use fan material, but I think this is a cool outfit that should get referenced in something. Nippon Golden Network. The Nippon Golden Network is a broadcasting network in Hawaii, which is, one of the states of America, if you live in America and didn't know that for some reason. There were multiple stations, but one of the stations was known for airing subtitled versions of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. If that is the case, that would make this some of the earliest known American broadcasting of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z through official channels. The network does still exist. However, I've never lived in Hawaii, so sadly, a network as awesome as that hasn't been in my reaches. But hey, maybe one day I'll have access to a 24-hour network that only shows Japanese broadcasting with subtitles. I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I just mean I personally don't own access to that because I'm not paying for cable. What am I, a savage? Mr. Savage. I did not actually intend for these to line up the way they did with what I said in this one. Anyway, let's get into it. Mr. Savage was the name of a Hercule toy that someone says existed. However, most people were like, what are you talking about? That's not a thing. Well, a user was able to find an ad depicting Mr. Savage as the name for a Hercule toy. Tanako Karibo of the Kaizenshu forums made a post basically saying, here's an eBay listing I found with the item for sale. Back when everything was still getting heavily censored by the Ocean dub. So Mr. Savage was potentially what they were putting down for toys at the time before they settled on the name Hercule. Fenyo's Gotenks Videl drawing. Fenyon is an artist for Dokapon Battle, which is this Japanese, I think it's like a gacha game. Honestly, I don't know much about it, but he is a very prominent artist on there with a huge social media presence. And one of the drawings he decided to put out on his Twitter, now X, I'm just going to call it Twitter, I don't care, was a picture of all the characters in Halloween costumes, fitting for the occasion. However, Gotenks was lifting up Videl's shirt, as if he was trying to expose her chest as a prank. It caused a bit of controversy, but I don't think it really went anywhere. It's a relatively tame picture, but it is something that a character should not be doing. Vegeta Death Poem. For Dragon Ball Chapter 467, this would be the Takaban version. The cover chapter image that, they always have, has a picture of Vegeta with a death poem next to it, which I will read off to you. As dew appears, as dew vanishes, such is my life. Everything in this world is but a dream within another dream. This is a play on a famous death poem by Hideyoshi. It talks about the fleetingness of life and how at the end of the day, this person who had all of these great achievements has nothing to pass on and was everything he did basically for naught, given like his heir died, lieutenants within his army are like plotting to overthrow and take power. Basically everything that was his empire would be gone. Now what's key is this is the issue where Vegeta, when he's Majin, self-destructs to kill himself to defeat Majin Buu. So this poem was kind of like a poetic way to, send off Vegeta in his death, looking, at a character whose past is kind of fraught with controversy in the fact that he was a villain at one point. That said, all future reprints of this chapter remove the death poem from it, so it's not something you're likely to see through casual reading nowadays. Kochikami crossover. Kochikami is this long-going manga series about a beat cop that aired back in 1976, and it actually didn't end until 2016. It was kind of one of those gag comics about a gag character that was just really popular. Well, they decided to do a crossover with Dragon Ball and Kochikami, and it's all right. It's as you would expect. It's just a gag character in a world with serious martial arts fighters. And most characters are kind of taken aback by the fact that this character does not die to even Frieza. So this guy's clearly crazy powerful, and we should back off if he means business. I'm not sure if there's an unofficial fan translation for it, but if I find one, I'll leave a link below. March for Goku. The March for Goku is a kind of counterculture march movement to the sort of March for Jesuses that are done in Brazil. It's a way to kind of push back against, religious fundamentalism. And what it was just fans of Dragon Ball all dressing up and just doing a march down the streets of Brazil, talking about Goku and the anime Dragon Ball to anyone who would listen. It was actually more of like a kind of fun event for fans of the series. While there were, conservative people who felt that it was a mockery of Christianity and a affront to the religion itself, most people saw it for what it was, which was just like a fun counterculture event for fans of Dragon Ball. I believe they still do these marches, so if you're in the area for one, maybe check one out and meet some Dragon Ball fans. Peking Dog? I'm gonna be honest, for this title, the title's just here. Peking Dog. I don't know. It's here. Let's move on. This is in reference to a guy who has a massive Dragon Ball collection. Now, this is different from the world record collection of Dragon Ball merchandise. This person is notable for the fact that they have a lot of published media of Dragon Ball, like Weekly Shonen Jumps, things like that. They have an extremely large collection, and that is why he is notable. I'll leave a link to the video down below. It actually has R. Fujimoto, that guy we talked about before who dresses up as Vegeta, in it, as it is his video. It's subtitled, so you can, watch along and listen, but it's just a kind of a cool little video to see what people who are passionate about collecting Dragon Ball media have. Dragon Ball Evolution original script. That's right, the Dragon Ball script we got was not the original Dragon Ball movie American script. There was another one before we got that one. Is it better? Some would say debatably better. Like, it's not in terms of quality, like, better. But it is closer to the source material, is what people would argue. So it would be more enjoyable because you're like, okay, this is something that actually follows the source material, rather than what we got, which was like Goku in high school and whatever the fuck was going on. I'll leave a link down below for it in case you want to give it a read. It is interesting. Piccolo's dick. Piccolo's dick, also known as Daily Dose, is a meme of Piccolo penetrating from the backside Vegeta. It's a silly image that got posted a lot on 4chan, to the point of where people will go, hey, here's your daily dose of this image, which then had people refer to the phrase, thanks, Doc. It's actually why you probably have seen pictures and memes of Piccolo dressed up in a doctor's uniform or holding medicine that might say dose. It's because that is kind of the evolution of the daily dose meme. Also, the song Green and Purple by, I believe, Critical was also kind of added to this whole meme, which just had it grow even more. Nowadays, you kind of don't see it as much, but it is typically referenced when bringing up Piccolo a lot online. Dragon Magic Orchestra. I honestly could not find much information on Dragon Magic Orchestra, other than they seem to be a parody group of the band Yellow Magic Orchestra. And by parody group, I mean like a lot of their theming and such is similar to this group, but they were specifically for Dragon Ball music. One of the big things they're known for is the theme song for Bardock called Solid State Scouter, which is also a theme on a Yellow Magic Orchestra song called Solid State Survivor. I don't know a lot about this musical sort of reference, so I'll leave a link below to the Kaizenshu forums where you can read through the article. There's also a podcast about this where someone goes into it. So yeah, check it out. Tao of Wu. Tao of Wu is a book by the RZA. He is a member of the rap group, the Wu-Tang Clan, if you've never heard of them. You know, Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. You come on, you guys know who Wu-Tang Clan is, right? Like, I'm not talking to the void here. In it, he talks a lot about Japanese culture, mainly martial arts, and how that kind of influenced his life and music. One of the more memorable moments in his book, though, is how he talks about Dragon Ball Z and how that not only influenced him, but he sees a lot of parallels to the struggle of the black man in America. I'll go ahead and read a passage from his book so you understand what I mean. Take even a cartoon like Dragon Ball Z. I mean, it's a cartoon, but it's one of the deepest cartoons in history. Its hero, Son Goku, starts out as a kid, begins martial arts training like Tan Ti, the protagonist of 36 Chambers of Shaolin, and goes off on a quest for 7 Dragon Balls that unleash dragons that can grant wishes. Now, that's a fantasy, obviously, a children's story, but it's also based on the 16th century Chinese folk novel about a Buddhist monk who travels to India to find the Buddhist Sutra. That voyage represents a journey to enlightenment, but to me, Dragon Ball Z also represents the journey of a black man in America. You see it more clearly as the story goes. You learn that Son Goku is part of an alien race called the Saiyans, who come from a distant planet and were known as the fiercest warriors in the galaxy. So Son Goku has superpowers but doesn't realize it. A head injury destroys his memories, robbed of his knowledge of self. Then one day, he gets stressed beyond his limits and hulks out into his alter ego, Super Saiyan, a nigga with dreadlocks. Now, granted, he is not trying to say that, hey, Super Saiyans are just black people, or that black people are just like Super Saiyans. But what he's trying to say is that there's a lot of themes within Dragon Ball Z that relate to the average black man in America. And we actually talked about this a little bit earlier in the Dragon Ball Iceberg when I talked about the cultural influences of rap music and Dragon Ball. You can see that there is clearly something to Dragon Ball Z that heavily relates to a black audience. And I think what the RZA is talking about here really touches upon that. Dragonfall. Dragonfall is a parody comic from Spain, but that's really all I know about it. I could not find any translations of this. I am starting to notice a theming of Spanish material coming out and just not having any sort of legal sign-off to exist. We talked about the figures before from Spain. This seems to be more similar to that. But if you happen to have any sort of translations of Dragonfall, please comment down below. I would love to read it and follow up on this because it seems very interesting. History of Japan Special. The History of Japan Special is this 27-hour-long special that has characters from Dragon Ball Super talking about the history of Japan. I'll leave a link to a clip of it down below to check it out. But it seems like a really cool way to get people into Japanese history. Triangle Guy. Triangle Guy, also known as Yotsu Ibatsuwa, was an animator for the Dragon Ball series. He was known for some of his real kind of grosser looks of the characters. You might know the one of like long neck Vegeta. It's just his animation style was very off-putting, so he was dubbed the Triangle Guy for his kind of angular and ugly look to his art. Matryoshka. Matryoshka is the name of Toriyama's dog he used to have. He looks like a Siberian Husky. This information came from volume 3 of the Takamon volumes, where Toriyama would put a little bit of information about himself in each volume. So that's how we came to know about this little dog he used to have. It's a Siberian Husky. It's gotta be huge. What am I talking about? Viz Kids chapter books. The Viz Kids chapter books are just novels of the Dragon Ball story. So instead of manga, you read it. It's just a way to get kids into reading. I would never read these, but they're cool to have if you want children to read. Wuxia. I don't know if this is a shit post or if this is like a legitimate argument someone made, but they basically crafted an essay paper for why Dragon Ball should not be genre defined as just like action, because that's just too broad, or adventure. That's just too broad. But Wuxia, oh, that fits perfectly. The term basically takes two words, Wu, which stands for like, you know, warrior, fighter, soldier, that sort of thing, and Xia, which is more like chivalrous hero, that sort of thing, and puts it together and says that's the genre it should be. No one will ever use this term because it's like so old and dated, but it could fit in that genre. I'll leave a link below if you're interested in reading it. It is insanely long. Trimark licensing issue. Earlier in our videos, we had talked about the Harmony Gold situation, how they made the first 13 episodes of Dragon Ball and the first Dragon Ball movie, Curse of the Blood Rubies, and that didn't work out. Well, due to the contract they negotiated with Trimark, they weren't allowed to go back and redub or re-release those episodes and that movie. So for just like over a decade and a half, we were not able to watch this seminal starting episodes of Dragon Ball because of licensing. However, in 2009, the rights ended and Funimation was able to put out those 13 episodes and the Blood Rubies movie for everyone to watch. It also wasn't the original Harmony Gold version, mind you. This would be the redubs with the Funimation in-house voice acting. Gohan Super Saiyan Ultimate Form confusion. This was some confusion that happened in the fandom due to a mistake in promotional media for the Dragon Ball Battle of Gods movie, as well as due to what the creators of the GT series had done when it came to ignoring all of Gohan's hard work in Dragon Ball Z. What do I mean? In Dragon Ball Z, we know that Gohan goes beyond his Super Saiyan form into his Mystic Ultimate form through the use of training with the Supreme Kai, or Elder Kai. Well, GT forgot about that, and in GT, when we see him transform, he goes Super Saiyan, which is like, you shouldn't need to go Super Saiyan. You're stronger than that. It was a mistake on their part, and honestly negligence, but we'll move on from that. Well, when advertisements for the Battle of Gods movie were kind of being shown, people saw Gohan powering up and transforming into a Super Saiyan, which made people immediately go, hey, did Toriyama and you guys forget Gohan has an ultimate form that makes him look normal without the need to have his yellow Super Saiyan hair? And later on, it was announced that, yes, this was a mistake on our part. We knew about the ultimate form, it's just there was a production error. But it has since been corrected in future media release to tease the movie. And in the movie, we see that Gohan does not turn Super Saiyan. Fun fact, it was Key 17 that actually provided the information to everyone to let them know, hey, Battle of Gods will have a normal, proper ultimate form Gohan, which we'll get to in a little bit. I just wanted to make sure you guys knew that. Bills. This is another situation that occurred due to early media from the Dragon Ball Battle of Gods movie. A lot of early fans thought that Beerus's name was Bills. This is due to how it's pronounced and people trying to do a rough romanization of his name. As we later found out, that is not the case. Beerus's name was supposed to be Virus, but due to a mistake, was assumed to be a pun on alcohol, beer, which is how we got Weiss and everyone else having, alcohol-based names. But Bills was making its rounds for a while until we got official channels telling us, hey, you idiots, it's not Bills, it's Beerus. Popora Papa origins. Popora Papa is a nonsense word, kind of like abracadabra, but its origins might come from this old Japanese show. Shazam was this like old childhood show where in it the word Por Papa would be said, and this show predates Dragon Ball. But we don't know if Toriyama's seen this show or maybe just subconsciously remembered it and came up with the word Por Papa. We're not quite sure where that term for Toriyama came from, but it is an old term that has been used in other things that aren't Dragon Ball, but we're not quite sure where this term officially originated from, much like abracadabra. Mount Ponzu is made up. Mount Ponzu is Goku's home in Dragon Ball lore. However, it's completely made up in that his house in the movies is not what his house looks like. This is because there were not a lot of references to Goku's home. Toriyama only slightly referenced it. I believe it was either during the Android or Boo saga. It gets slightly referenced. But because of that, when the movies would reference, hey, this is Gohan and he's at home and stuff like that, they didn't have anything to reference. So they just made it up and said, yeah, Goku's house is right next to where he used to live as a child. That's not true. We later on see Goku and Chi-Chi's house looks way different than what it looked like in the movies. As a kid, I just thought he got it remodeled, but no, it's just that look and design and place of where it is not at all. They're not by each other. It was just made up. M17th. M17th is supposed to be the date of the Cell games. However, other media says that it's May 26th. But sometimes the May 17th date keeps getting re-referenced in things. It's one of those confusing things where both sides, I think, who control the history and tome of Dragon Ball media are probably thinking they're right and confused when publishing Dragon Ball material. So the date of the Cell games, people will say, is M17th, but don't be surprised if you hear May 26th as well as the start date for the Cell game. May 17th was in the original release of the Dragon Ball manga. However, things that have referenced the date of the Cell games after that, like the Daishinsu books, as well as later Kazaban releases, will all say, hey, it's May 26th in there. But there's later media that will still go back and go, hey, that May 17th date, that is correct. So it's very confusing, and don't worry about it, honestly. Anime Labs. Anime Labs was an old fan subs group that was known for making edgy fan subs. Like, characters would curse and say slurs a lot more often. It kind of sucked because it wasn't even close to the attitude that Toriyama and everyone was going to. So it's just a notorious fan sub in the community. Miami Mike. Continuing with fan subs, we'll talk about the VHS fan subs for Dragon Ball. As we know, fan sub tapes used to get passed around all the time, and they would actually have their own credits. One fan sub group called Centaur Video had a ending credits that had a caption that said, "No thanks to," and under was Miami Mike, I remember what you did to me at Dragon Con. So who is Miami Mike and what did he do? Well, I'll leave a link down below. Someone was able to track down Miami Mike. From what we have been told, these stories aren't that exciting. However, Miami Mike did say back in the days of tape trading, to stay afloat, you kind of did some like scummy business practices. And that's what this is in reference to. He might not have been the most scrupulous tape trader of the time. Takashi Matsuyama. Takashi is Toriyama's second editor. He was actually there for the second half of Dr. Slump and the whole of the Dragon Ball manga. He's just an important person since he is Toriyama's assistant and has been along for the majority of the Dragon Ball ride. And finally, we have K-17. K-17 is an individual who's known for procuring media that he then disseminates to the fan sites and documentarians of Dragon Ball media, and has been very influential in finding a lot of lost media or unknown information about Dragon Ball for fans. For instance, there's a Korean English educational Dragon Ball dub that can be found, and he was the first person to find it. So without them, a lot of Dragon Ball media that has been found that's on the more obscure side could not have been done without them. So definitely worth noting this person when it comes to the history of Dragon Ball media preservation. But that's it for level 9 of the Ultimate Dragon Ball Iceberg. Just 3 more to go, and then I'll be moving on to something else, and you guys will hopefully like that too. Because you guys definitely like it when I do other stuff that isn't Dragon Ball related, so thank you for that. But until next time, my name is Eddie Dark Bomber, and remember to always love yourself. And like I said, if you haven't, please check out my amazing Digital Circus video. Like I said, I put a lot of hard work in it, and having the thumbs up and comments really gives me the drive to keep making more work like this. So yeah, love yourself, and ta-ta!